Chapter 1 Wadasin. On Ling Mountain, the stone steps wind perilous lie along the cliff. The summit traces majestically in toughy clouds, perpetually shrouded in a layer of mist, only by parting the dense fog cannot discover hidden a body nestled within. The dwelling is modest, comprising merely 3 rooms arranged in 3 directions. The main house faces south, while on a room a stuffy stand on other to the west. The roof is thatched with straw, exuding an air of rustic simplicity. The aves connect seamlessly, extending towards the entrance, forming the appearance of a square wall when viewed from above. In the center of the small courtyard stands a water tank, directly facing the southern gate. Suddenly, a torrential downpour descends, cascading from the heavens like a deluge. The sky darkens to a slate grey under the relentless rain. Knock! Knock, knock! At this moment, food and get off the courtyard is being pounded urgently. I sanionether, open the door, Latusan tourist. It is a man's voice, harsh and gruff. Yet, no matter how fiercely he knocks, there is no response. Bang! The man kicks the wooden door open, intent on striding into the courtyard. However, as he lifts his foot, half as in place, astonishment flashing in his eyes. Before him, the small courtyard reveals a remarkable sight. A 3 rooms and courtyard formed for streams of water rushing like a river into the tank. The size a masterful feng shui arrangement. Heavenly ascensodescence and the 4 waters converge. The man stands transfixed, compelled to scrutinize the scene. Through the curtain of rain, he can see the door of the main house ajar. Inside, a wisp of incense burns, its blue smoke swirling and lingering, tight like confined within the room, creating an ethereal atmosphere. Combined with the sight of the 4 waters converging in the courtyard, the scene feels otherworldly, as if he has stepped into a realm of immortals. Just as the man is captivated by his exquisite tetabaeo. A figure clad in white emerges slowly from the sitting room of the main house. The woman is to land walks with an unhurried grace, exuding an array of languid elegance. Outside, the cold rain patters softly, while within, the light smoke dances gently. Her darker casket is down her shoulders, swaying lightly behind her. The man shirt receives, an inexplicable trepidation settling within Yamashwitz for her to approach. She walks slowly, unhurried, accompanied on liveth a sound of rain. Upon reaching the center of the main house, Shetern Sen stands still. Then, Shiraishir gazeta the courtyard, Lock and Jayas with Therum and Ho had been pounding at the door. From a satire, it is clear he's a warrior, talent robust, with a largest word slung across his back. Fuomanglin seizeth him before lowering her gaze, seemingly unimpressed by his presence. The cold rain washes over them, and the cascading water obscures her view, rendering her figure almost ethereal amidst the curling sense of smoke. The man wipes his face and looks again, his heart racing anew. Wait a breathtakingly otherworldly visage. In the dreary, coldness of the rain scene, her snow-white obese and Haralov, Serena Demi nor make her seem like a bay from another realm. Shanatas is Anave's feet still planted inside the door and speaks as this appropriate? Her voice, like her presence, is coolly yet imbued with a hint of ethereal quality. The man is taken aback, uncertain of what she means be appropriate. Woman continues in her chilling tone entering uninvit not appropriate. The man grins, unconcerned, and steps further inside. Yet, the woman, appearing weary, gently flicks her sleeve while speaking leave, and shut the door behind. The man skiffs dismissively you just, miss. Before he can finish. Pft, pft. A few drops of rain show through the curtain like arrows, striking him with a deadly precision. Caught off guard, he instantly hit the rain pierces through his garments, exploding against the skin. On his clothes, theming of rain and blood creates a pattern reminiscent of scattered red plum blossoms. A sharp pain and a surge of fear garifichiart. The man is horrified, daring not to cast another glance quickly retreats, hastily shutting the courtyard gate behind him. Clap. As the gate closes, he stumbles down the mountain, encountering several fellow warriors seeking shelter from Thurin, each only bears a fierce countenance. Upon seeing the bloodstains in the manchest, they are collectively alarmed. Boss, what happened? Where did this blood come from? Isn't the nth clear realm, how could possibly injure him? Hoist he personine that chethouse? Theman clutches his chest, shaken with fear. Master, we must flee. He descends the mountain of sprinting, tearing open hisher to reveal numerous puncture wounds, each bleeding profusely, as if he had been pricked by a bead of needles. The others gaze at these injurious in shock and confusion, unable to comprehend the situation. If ever seen ones like these, what kind of weapon could inflict such harm? Called it be hidden weapon? Boot, where is it? Where is the weapon? His skin bears no trace of any weapon, only the wounds that bleed. Themon shakes a shade in horror and drops Arathupans, striking unseen. Now composed, her recall steady tail softy earlier encountereth woman had Merli raised her hand lightly and therein drop she dock to dash den weapons twanger him. Ha hadn't even seen how she accomplished it. Thought woman must bear clues of a master. A martial arts grandmaster. Revised translation. Athos amendment. Xiao Ranshu student me center of T-main hall, letting Gaudasov sigh. Ah, I'm so hungry. Just moments ago she had exuded an air of physique composure while confronting them and seemingly embodying the authority of a superior. In reality, however, she was merely too famished to master thinner guide a speaker slow movements worry testamento her weakness. She was a modern individual. How old have I imagined that our close-of Schulten like her could find herself inhabiting Thyssen familiar body? What kind of bizarre replace was these? She had arrived in an empty stomach, and before she could grasp her surroundings, a torrential downpour had begun, so heavy thought then to ring out seduous it lay impossible. Xiao Ranshu had not quite spot a rummage at Trudy house. To her astonishment, it seemed he original owner had been engaged in some sort of cultivation. Forget about lavish feasts, there was to an single grain of to be found. And to top it off, she was living in a thought shed cottage however dismal. She was truly starving, so much as that she couldn't lie still and wait for their intoshes. Just then, Somio Nekakiden theater, and the knocking was urgent. Xiao Ranshu, being the epitome of social anxiety, initially considered feigning death, but to her dismay, the intruder was squitterude, barging in without invitation. The sound of the door being kicked was tunderous and terrifying. With great reluctance, she dragged her famished body to her feet. Little did they know what as and disoriented she felt as hestiggered from the side halt to the main hall at stepsium to suffer very little force. Finally ricking the main hall, she took a moment to assess the situation. The intruder, thoughtful-mannered, had an undeniably fierce appearance, radiating Genorov menace. How could Simeone soint intimidating Bialowit inside? Xiao Ranshu was determined to refuse entry. Thus she tempted Toriasin with the person, hoping to send them away. Fortunately, despite his fearsome evisage, Themon turned out to be quite agreeable. He left without protest and even closed the door behind him. Gurgle, gurgle. Her stomach began to play a symphonio funger, drumming loudly. She was a ravenous tatsi felt as if she might devour Simeon. Perhaps it would be best to continue laying down. Xiao Ranshu took an last glance at the small courtyard, thought impoverished, the Rhine scenery wastrelly beautiful. What was it called again? Feng Shui Geomanciono, landscape architecture. A soul from 21st century would never be superstitious. As her thoughts wandered, she dragged her almost lifeless body toward the side hall. There was to been a proper bed here, only a crude wooden platform that had not been smoothed, rough and hard beneather. She had to endure her hunger while also contemplating how to adapt to his new environment. Good news she had crossed over. Bad news she's. Not a single piece of information remained. What Tony Arth was he supposed to know? She was on the verge of starvation. How had the original owner met Irand? Surely it was from dying of poverty and hunger? What a tragic fate. Chapter 2 Superior Feng Shui, the Debus of Feng Shui. In the far north of the continent lay as a colossalous wall, thick and towering, stretch engineless lie into the horizon, seemingly connecting with the heavens above. Nuna knows what lays beyond Thesis wall, with complete isolate the continent, marking the legendary and off-world. A the base of this wall stands a snow-capped mountain. Without warning, the accumulated snow atop the mountain begins to multifter century, these breaking apart into either that flows through to crevices of the mountain. In total, 9 slender streams, ultimately converging into a ivor of the foot of the mountain, continuing southward into the land. As the ice melts and the snow thaws, the warm sun shines down. It feels as though some thin awakening. Within the natural cavity of the snow mountain, a man sits cross-legged upon a stone platform. His eyes are tightly shut, devoid of any sign of life, appearing to have been dead for an eternity. Yet, his body remains intact, showing no signs of decay. The cave seems to have been untouched for an unknown period, enveloped in a eerie silence, with layers of dust accumulating everywhere. Suddenly, Gagenal breeze sweeps through, stirring theta stand revitalizing the cave at a visible pace. The dust vanishes without a trace, leaving no hint of filth behind. Themancia lashes flutter, and he slowly open eyes. Beneath Hishan's some exterior, his eyes resemble beryllian stars. Ash's gaze sharpens, Thelithelaskav kami slavanatan lido estebris carish his face, but the sound of dripping water echoes around him. Before long, droplets coalesce into spring in the center of the cave, and several flower buds bloom around it, accompanied by the melodious songs of distant birds. This place resembles a miniature world. Theman Lowersh's gaze, seemingly deep in thought, as a flighty glimmer sparkles in his eyes. At last, Harris ascends strides toward the stone to but ahead. If a warrior from Thebak Piokofling Mountain were to witness this man, they would be astonished by his attire, which is strikingly similar to Thedov Keith Molemister from Thethached Cottage. Dressed in white, he exuded sanitary elegance. As she approached studiable, he gestures with efficient and writing materials ink, brush, paper, and inkstone materialize before him. Without lifting his gaze, he flicks his fingers, and a stream of spring water flies over, landing in the inkstone. Theman leans slightly forward. Grinding thank, he picks up the brush and begins to write. In the first era. In the thatched cottage in Ling Mountain. Theater Ranshu rain had been fallen for an indeterminate duration. Xiao Ranshu from hunger, only to succumb to sleep Hansmarie, and then awaken again. This cycle repeated itself. She suspected during semi-tozy intervals she had fainted from starvation. When Theskius finally cleared, she nearly crawled off wooden platform, swaying unsteadily as even Cherdut in search of food. At this point, she was so hungry that she could devour the earth beneath her feet. There was no need to search the main house or the stand west room so longer she had already rummaged through them thoroughly, and it was beyond mere simplicity there was nothing but emptiness as if Nune had ever lived there. Surely even if the original owner favored minimalism, they wouldn't have been devoid of basic necessities, would they? This was utterly absurd. Xiao Ranshu was increasingly convinced that the original owner had starved to death. After the rain cleared, she's at their sights in Thebak Mountain. Logically speaking, in a place like this, one would expect to find a plot of land cultivated behind the house, perhaps growing some efforts and vegetables. Made the ruins of any kiken coop? Shire for me it. But when Xiao Ranshu dashed to the back of the courtyard, she was met with utter disbelief. Behind the cottage was a sheer cliff. A precipice. This thatched cottage was perched atop the mountain, creating a dramatic four waters convergence. It was quite a spectacle. Yet, what about the front and back? The front courtyard faced the mountain path, a direct road to letting to nothingness. The back was even more outrageous, a sheer drop no support, just 1,000-foot plunge. Was this truly how a built a house? The courtyard boasted superior feng shui, while it here beyond was rife with feng shui taboos. Oh, how ironic. If the owner of his dwelling didn't perish, then howled? Xiao Ranshu was genuine latent occurs, but survival was paramount, so she turned away muttering to herself and decided to follow the stone steps in the front courtyard to explore the mountainside. She would eat whatever she found at this point, and a living creature would suffice. Fortunately, despite Harajula's and aloofness, she had spent amply time in Linithome indulging in random searches and explorations, thus acquiring some theoretic knowledge. She knew about architectural feng shui and had some understanding of wilderness survival. She could identify certain mushrooms and avoid dangers. Armed with this knowledge, Xiao Ranshu ventured into the forest. After a period arching, she began to dig for wild vegetables, calling out for Ermotherus worked. That scant knowledge was utterly useless. With tersen hurries, Xiao Ranshu swallowed twalis of wild greens radokel her hunger, then bundled large handful of them in her clothing as she made her way back. As a modern individual, she longed for food. Her pristine white garments were now caked in mud, but survival took precedence. However, upon returning to Thethached Cottage, an even more crushing realization struck her: there were any cooking utensils. Xiao Ranshu felt she was in the brink of madness. After rummaging through every corner, she finally unearthed a ceramic pot that resembled a medicinal cauldron. At this point, she couldn't afford to pick a wood to see for whatever purpose it served. As for water, her gaze fell upon the large water tank in the courtyard. In ancient times, the ruas no polish and rainwater was pure and untainted. With a simple filter, it could be boiled and consumed, right? A Simeone with no experience in traversing different realm, this way Xiao Ranshu could conceive. She strained water and washed through vegetables, then scoured theory for twigs, which were difficult to come in a rain a day, and set up a makeshift fire in the courtyard to cook. After much effort, she finally prepared everything, only to find their face darkening. Where was the fire? Was the heavens truly intent in her demise? She certainly couldn't treasure to the most primitive a method of friction to ignite a flame. But then, her gaze drifted to the main house to the north. Inside, thin wisps of smoke still curly were down the narrow double line the main hall, and incense stick burned steadily on its shoulder. A spark. Xiao Ranshu rushed over, her mind racing with audacious thoughts. Ha, the heavens didn't expect their Toba so hard to kill. The irritable was near empty, save for the solitary incense stick burning in its shoulder. As her reached out, she's and said something ways amiss. It had been quite some amazing Carrara Valentha's realm, and logically, thine sense should have long since a burned toishes. Yet, it showed no signs of Kangia tremain this length as when she first arrived. It had been burning gal this time. Veruasama Thingun Setalinga Booty. Buthingaran the instinct for survival triumphed over her fear. Xiao Ranshu's eyes at the insensistic in turn to light tedretwigs. She was a stunned materialist. With a fire lit, everything fell in place. The twigs ignited swiftly and the water boiled quickly. With terse injuries, Xiao Ranshu tossed the vegetables into thepo, cooking them until they were tender akin to a hot pot. She had no salt, no their seasoning green cemented a strong grassy aroma. They were far less appealing than what Tona might see in popular online videos of pigs feasting. Yet Xiao Ranshu should have read them ravenously, finding them surprising delicious, movitotiers. After several mouthfuls of vegetables, she finally felt a semblance of life return to her, prompting her thoughts to wander. Speaking of the original owner Chu, what was her name? Continue to include the 10 cents have been like be her before she did, not tasty, bucho why he live in Goloni atop this mountain, did she have family? Xiao Ranshu fin the vegetables difficult to chew, Sasha decided to swallow them wholly and moved on to the next leaf. Unsatiated, she glanced at her muddy white cloas and the chaotic makeshift stovey on the ground, feeling gutter-lit disheartened. The mountain view was breathtaking, and house, with its 4 waters converging, possessed a certain charm. For razishly anxious reckless, live in Gulanu Wazak and Toparadis. Butter was no takeout. No takey out it'll. How wild she endureth the days to come? Chapter 3 A brush with death in Lingsha village. Of the village, following the heavy rain, was permeated with the scent of mud and grass. Villagers emerged from their homes, busily clearing the muck from their doorsteps. Suddenly, a loud cry echoed from afar, the warrior is descending the mountain. The diligent villagers were taken aback, hastily dropping their belongings and scooping up their children to seek refuge indoors. Before long, every household had tightly shut its doors, leaving the village eerily empty and silent, as if devoid of life. At the foot of the mountain, one household found Mrs. Zhang huddled in a corner, cradling her sleeping daughter. Her husband, old Zhao, gripped a hoe with palpable tension. Guarding the entrance, their eldest son, Zhao Taizhu, stood beside his father with a shovel in hand, his fingers turning white from the strain. In this era where martial prowess was revered, warriors symbolized status and strength. Even one was enough to instill fear, let alone a group. Lingsha village, even if slaughtered, would draw no attention. Outside, footsteps grew louder, accompanied by hushed voices. This mountain is impassable, we must take a detour. There's no choice, the person at the summit guards it fiercely, who would dare to intrude. The leading warrior remained silent, his brow furrowed. His wounds still bled, and his upper body throbbed with pain. It was evident that the woman at the summit had merely issued a warning. Had he crossed the threshold of her courtyard, he would likely be a corpse by now. The existence of such a figure in Lingsha village was terrifying. The man's anxiety escalated, blood seeping from his chest while cold sweat trickled down his back, creating a juxtaposition of ice and fire within him. Suddenly, a child's wail shattered the village's tranquility. The warriors turned their heads towards the source of the cries. Inside, Mrs. Zhang's eyes reddened with urgency as she tried in vain to soothe her daughter, who continued to wail relentlessly. Old Zhao and Zhao Taizhu turned ashen, their bodies rigid. No one had anticipated that their daughter, who had been peacefully asleep, would erupt into tears at this moment. The entire family tensed, scarcely daring to breathe. To make matters worse, the footsteps were approaching their home. With a creak, the door was pushed open. The family's hearts plummeted, backlit by the sun. The warriors outside appeared fearsome, each armed with exquisite weaponry, their blades glinting ominously. In an age that revered martial strength, who cared for the lives of impoverished villagers, everyone foresaw the grim fate that awaited them. With a thud, Mrs. Zhang fell to her knees. She began to kowtow, pleading, "Gentlemen, spare us, the child is still young, it was not my intention to disturb you." To her astonishment, the leading warrior replied softly, "No harm done. It is natural for a child to cry, please, rise." Mrs. Zhang, momentarily stunned, looked up to see the warrior resting his great sword at the threshold and introducing himself. "For my surname is Chiu, with the given name Yu. My brothers and I are merely passing through and seek a drink of water, if you would be so kind." The other warriors also unstrapped their weapons, their expressions softening as they regarded the family with no hint of malice. Before long, Yu was seated at the same table, enjoying a lively conversation with them. Old Zhao presented a plate of peanuts and even procured a jar of wine. It was an unimaginable honor for an ordinary person to converse with martial artists. After several rounds of drinks, Yu, suppressing the pain from his chest, inquired about the person at the summit. Mrs. Zhang recounted, "There was indeed a lady who passed through Lingsha village a few days ago on her way up the mountain. She was veiled, so I couldn't discern her features. However, that mountain is quite high. I wonder when they built the stone steps. It used to be just a cliff." Yu was taken aback. A path to ascend the mountain had been constructed in silence. The mountain was steep, and the stone steps were all crafted from solid rock. A significant undertaking. Who was this woman, and how had she accomplished it? Why had she chosen to seclude herself in Lingsha mountain? He suppressed his astonishment and asked, "Did she say anything before leaving?" Mrs. Zhang replied, "I recall she left behind a phrase before ascending." Zhang responded, "She mentioned that if there was a matter of importance, one could ascend the mountain." Xiaoyu's mind exploded with realization, his face turning pale. The implication was clear, she had pledged her protection over Lingsha village. A chill ran down his spine. Should he harm even one villager, he would surely meet a tragic end. With this thought, he stood and placed some money on the table, saying, "I was unaware that Lingsha village had such a powerful protector. I sincerely apologize for any offenses, and I hope you can speak favorably of me before the goddess." Atop Ling Mountain, in a thatched cottage, Xiao Ranshu finished her meal and tidied up before searching for a mirror. Upon finding none, she returned to the courtyard and peered into the surface of a large water vat. Wow, she gasped, astonished. Who was this breathtaking beauty? Even with mud clinging to her cheeks, her stunning visage remained unaffected, exuding an ethereal charm that seemed to transcend the mortal realm. Xiao Ranshu's eyes sparkled with delight. Such a beautiful sister. Suddenly, it dawned on her that the reflection was indeed her own. Disappointment washed over her, and she decided against further admiration. She placed the incense stick back into the main room's incense burner, bowed respectfully, and continued rummaging through the house. She found 2 sets of clothing, but both were white. How much did the original owner favor this color? Morning attire. Yug. Xiao Ranshu offered another bow to the incense, feeling a twinge of guilt. After changing into a clean outfit and washing the muddy clothes to dry, she spent the afternoon thoroughly searching the premises. Unfortunately, the only remnants of the original owner's possessions consisted of the house itself, a meager collection of furniture, 2 sets of garments, and a medicinal jar. There was no money to be found. In her previous life, Xiao Ranshu had known poverty, but never to this extent. It was truly a state of utter destitution. Leaning against a large stone in the courtyard, she gazed helplessly at the sky. I really wish I could have some chicken, Xiao Ranshu murmured, reluctant to touch the inedible wild vegetables for dinner. Just then, a series of footsteps echoed from the stone steps outside. Old Zhao and Mrs. Zhang cautiously peeked into the courtyard, with Zhao Taizhu trailing behind, cradling something wrapped in thick cloth. The trio, panting from their ascent, discovered the courtyard gate wide open. The first sight that greeted them was a breathtaking scene, with water cascading in harmonious beauty. Though the courtyard was small, it possessed even the arrangement of the stone tiles seemed meticulously designed. In the next moment, they beheld Xiao Ranshu, half reclining against a stone pillar, clad in a pristine white gown. She appeared as an ethereal being, her demeanor nonchalant, her gaze ancient and unfathomable, as if she had transcended the earthly realm and grown indifferent to worldly affairs. At that moment, Xiao Ranshu glanced toward the 3 outside. Zhao Taizhu was the first to succumb to her gaze, instinctively lowering his head, his face flushing crimson as if it might bleed. Old Zhao and Mrs. Zhang also stood in stunned silence for a moment. They had seen this woman pass through Lingxia village not long ago, but she had been veiled at the time. Today marked their first encounter with her true beauty, a beauty that was simply beyond compare. Chapter 4. You have reincarnated as a woman. Xiao Ranshu observed that the 3 individuals were far more excited to see her than she was to see them, and a myriad of thoughts raced through her mind. So, there are villagers here. They appear to be such simple and unpretentious folk, yet, she is a consummate social phobic. The more her mind whirled, the more her expression remained impassive, giving her an air of cold detachment that led the Zhao family to completely misunderstand her demeanor. Before Xiao Ranshu could react, thud, thud, old Zhao and Aunt Zhang suddenly knelt before her at the entrance, utterly captivated by her grace and beauty. Zhao Taizhu knelt even earlier than his parents, pressing his forehead against the cobblestones, not daring to lift his gaze. Xiao Ranshu was taken aback. What on earth? Why are they kneeling? Could it be that the original owner saved this family's life? In a moment of curiosity, she asked, Did I save your lives? To the ears of the 3, this translated to, I saved your lives. Bang! Bang, bang, the 3 began bowing fervently, overflowing with sincerity. Prior to ascending the mountain, the family had discussed amongst themselves, although they had never received an education or encountered the world at large, they were not foolish. The cries of their youngest daughter had not brought them disaster, rather, it had attracted warriors who came bearing gifts. In these times, when would a martial artist bow and present riches to mere mortals? Combining this with Qiao Yu's earlier remarks, Aunt Zhang's family swiftly realized the crux of the matter. It was this celestial being atop the mountain. She was the one who had shielded Lingxia village, ensuring their safety and preventing those warriors from causing harm. Was that not tantamount to saving their lives? Zhao Taizhu, being the most knowledgeable in the family, bowed deeply once more and, representing his parents, spoke, Celestial being, Lingxia village is impoverished, and we cannot offer you anything grand. We have slaughtered an old hen, my father collected some mushrooms, and my mother has brewed this pot of chicken soup. The chicken is tender, please do not find it unworthy. Old Zhao fervently nodded, yes. Yes. Upon hearing the words old hen, Xiao Ranshu sat up straight, her eyes practically sparkling. Chicken soup? Just moments ago, she had expressed a desire to eat chicken, and now it was being offered. Aunt Zhang exclaimed joyfully, Taizhu, quickly bring it to the celestial being. Zhao Taizhu stood, not daring to look up, and walked with his head bowed into the courtyard. He did not even dare to enter the house. Instead, he placed the items on a stone table in the corner and hurriedly retreated, resuming his kneeling at the entrance. Xiao Ranshu glanced at the stone table and discovered it was wrapped in thick cloth, concealing a clay pot. Such thoughtfulness, the soup must still be warm. She had no idea what had transpired in the village, convinced that the original owner had saved this family. What had the original owner done? To avoid revealing her true identity, Xiao Ranshu simply instructed the 3, rise. At that moment, her mind was consumed by thoughts of chicken soup, and mushrooms, and her social anxiety.